Good morning and welcome to the Keystone Western Podcast. My name is Pedro. I'm your host and producer. This is the show where we talk about trucking and the transportation industry, exploring stories, challenges, and innovations that keep the world moving. Each week, we bring you conversations with industry veterans, up and becoming professionals and experts on everything from career advice, industry trends to mental health, fitness, and beyond. Whether you're a long-haul truck driver, someone just curious about the industry, or just looking for inspiring stories, we got you covered. Today, I have a special guest with me, Mr. Edward, aka Tiny. How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Doing good.
Yeah?
It's Friday.
It's Friday? It's Friday somewhere?
It's always Friday.
So how did you get started in the trucking industry?
I came off a dairy farm, was tired of 24-hour days, and I started hauling ready-mix cement and slash hauling gravel from the quarry to the cement plant to mix the cement. And then I became a batcher slash dispatcher for cement company, and then I wanted to broaden I did that for 10 years, and then I went out to Southeast at that time, asked me to come over, won me over with bribed me to come over.
Oh, that's always good if they start with bribes.
So then I started running from Winnipeg, Grand Forks, Fargo, and the odd time a little bit further, but as a rule that was what I did first couple of years. And then I graduated to a deck trailer, which was it was really like a convertible trailer. Sides folded down, was a deck, haul lumber into Minneapolis and then open it up, and then we brought soybean meal back for or some feed product back for Eastman feed.
Okay.
Did that for 4 or 5 years, and then I slowly went out further, and then I started driving a long haul.
Okay. What year did you get your license?
Well, I was, what was I then? I was, I would have been 23, I think it was, when I got my class 1. Or at that time, well, actually 19. I had my chauffeurs at 19 because I picked up kids and delivered them, met them a school bus. So I needed chauffeurs in order to haul kids in my car.
Oh, okay.
And
so it was a little bit more than normal driver license?
Yes.
Okay.
It was actually class 1 because I don't know what year that was, and then they got a letter saying that if I wanted to keep my chauffeurs, which was now being changed to a class 1 driver,
Okay.
right? So I had to go in and they would honor that and then automatically change it. But I lived on the farm. I figured I don't really need it. Then in the following year we end up selling the farm. And then I needed it. So then I just went to the driving license bureau, whatever you want to call it, and asked if I could have my class 1, and they said no, but they could give me a class 3 with with air, and then I could drive the ready-mix truck.
Okay.
But then I wanted to start driving the the gravel truck trailer to haul from the pit to the plant, and then I needed my class 1. So
Okay.
I guess I want to say about a year or so I drove without class 1.
Okay.
And then the boss finally came up and asked if I was ready to go and get my class 1. So then I went out and got it, and that was exactly the period when metric had come in, and I knew my height is 13.6, and then I had to try to figure out what metric was in 13.6, right? That
What,
type
Canada didn't have metric before?
No, it was English, inches, pounds, miles per hour.
Huh. Like the Americans?
Yes. Then Trudeau decided to change it on us. Them Trudeau boys.
Gotta love them.
Gotta love them. Nobody else does.
Okay. So, like, what did it entail back then? You said you went in to get your
Yeah,
class
well, then
4.
I had to do a written test, and I didn't go to school long enough to learn how to read and write, so because my dad said it looked like it was pretty useless for me to go to school. He said we had better things to do on the farm. He had work for me. So then we made a living off the farm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did an oral test. I did whatever I could. Mm-hmm. And then they sat down with me, and I had 8 of them, which I couldn't do, and then did oral, and I ended up having 1 mistake off of that. And then to the driving part, we went out and did the driving part, and one of the instructor didn't notice that there was a car that came off this driveway and didn't stop at the stop sign, and I hammered down the brakes, and he was wondering why I hit the brakes as he almost went through the windshield. I said, because of that car. And then he was quiet, and all of a sudden he said, well, I'm glad somebody is paying attention.
At least you didn't.
Yeah. Anyways, and then I got my class 1 and got my air, and life is history. The rest is history.
It's just a blur.
Yeah, but just after that, I just started driving long haul. And
Like what years? Like they would have
well,
been?
I went 84. I started with Southeast, so I was 10 years at CT's with the cement truck, and then I started in 84 at Southeast. Like I said, the first year and a half or so, I just did the shorter runs, Fargo, Grand Forks, Crookston, and stuff like that. And then I slowly went out a little further, and then we got the glass run out of North Carolina, and then I got onto that, and then I just kept doing that. Then I stayed out running North Carolina to Toronto, back and forth for a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, and then every other weekend I got a load back to Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally we started hauling out to Vancouver, Alberta, Vancouver, and then I started taking those runs because Brenda, my wife, has a sister that lives in Burnaby, and we hauled the glass to just off of Portman Bridge underneath there, and so it was empty. I would call them up and they would come pick me up, and I spent a day or two there, and then I got a load down to, usually into Oregon, and lumber back to Lone Windows.
That's quite the...
And then I would start all over again. I'd take a load of steel down to, down south, pick up a load of glass, and usually Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. That's where I took then go to St. Elizabeth, pick up glass, and then, or Laurinburg, and then go back, do all the same thing all over. Go to BC and come back.
How long did a rounder like that usually take?
Whew, that's a long time ago.
E-log wasn't the thing.
E-log wasn't, which was lucky, because in those days you were allowed to run more than one book per se.
Allowed.
Allowed.
Yeah. Okay.
No. So anyway, I enjoyed it, and then finally got to the point where I was enjoying it a little bit too much, being gone for. And then we started having kids, and then the kids didn't get to see them, so I wanted to spend more time with the kids as they got older.
Yeah.
My Brandy, my oldest, she would come with me pretty well all summer. Usually a good 2 months or so she was with me when I drove a long haul. Nice. She was with me the whole time. My son, on the other hand, he didn't have that privilege because I quit long haul and started just local runs, doing the same thing back and forth to Grand Forks, Fargo. So he would just be with me during the day, and then that's it. But he was young too. He was, I think at that time he was 6 or 7 years old. So.
Okay.
But yeah, no. So that's what he. And then after that, I just started doing local stuff until I guess it was 2014 is when I got asked if I wanted to continue hauling Arctic cats. Then I would have to come and work for Keystone. So So Norm conned me into coming over to Keystone and work there, and just basically all I do is haul Arctic Cats now.
Okay. So
If
2014 you started with Keystone?
yeah.
Okay. So for those of the people that don't know, Norm used to be at Big Freight.
Yep, Norm was at Big Freight for
So
20.
so what's the story between Big Freight and Southeast? Like, is there a connection too, or?
Well, it was Southeast, and Big Freight was owned by Reimer Express.
Oh, okay.
It was one of the Reimer Express division of Reimer Express, and they were Big Freight at the time. I think, if memory serves me right, I think they were having issues with their running rights or something down south. So
Okay.
somehow Big Freight and Southeast sort of made agreement. Because Red and D.S. Reimer, or whoever it was that owned Reimer Express, were friends, and they started running together, off our yard. So we were, at that time, we were called Southeast Big Freight.
Okay.
It had both names on the door.
Mm.
And then later on, I guess it was a matter of a number of years, then Red, after he got a kind of clean bill of health with cancer, they took and bought Big Freight from Reimers and just changed Southeast to Big Freight, just one name.
Okay. Okay.
And then Norm quit, and then when he started GBT at that time, which was a division, Keystone was a division of GBT. He asked if I wanted to come and continue hauling Arctic Cats. I would have to come and work for him again. So, and that's what we're doing right now. We're hauling Arctic Cats till Arctic Cat doesn't want to build anymore.
Make
I don't
Arctic
know.
Cat anymore? Well, it was, yeah. Okay, so interesting. But now we're right back to Circle One.
Well,
right?
yeah. Now I'm right. Now that what is it? TFI bought out Dansky, which owned Big Freight, bought out Keystone. So now Big Freight and Keystone are sister companies.
Yeah.
Me living in Stamek, I get to park at Big Freight now.
Okay.
My truck and trailer. So that makes it a little easier. I used to have to park my trailer on a service road, a dead end service road, but
Okay. That makes it a little bit better this way.
Yeah.
It's in a secured yard.
yeah.
Okay. Well, if you had, so you had been driving. What did you say earlier?
I started in '74.
Okay. So
We sold the farm in '74, and I started with.
that makes it 50.
I started with Lone Windows. I was there for just over 4 weeks. That's why I haven't really mentioned it, because I started off as a truck driver helper,
Okay.
hauling lumber out of rail boxcars out of La Broquerie. 2 weeks, and then I was 2.5 weeks. I was a truck driver, and the guy quit that was driving, so I got to drive truck, and that was too much work. Laying on your belly, taking these rough 2x6s and 2x8s out of there, and
They go away laying on your belly.
And then Ed Hebert, that was a foreman at CT's, offered me a job driving ready mix, and I jumped on that.
Ah. Okay. A little bit easier.
A little bit easier on the
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. Like why laying on your belly pulling out?
While the
lumber?
boxcars were loaded about 1.5 to 2 feet from the top. So
Okay.
you had to, whatever you could pull out by the door, you pull out, and then you had to crawl in there, lay in there, and then you pull the boards and push it out to the other guy on the truck, and he would pile it.
Oh, okay, so you had to manually transfer
We
them.
manual transit it. There's CTs did it with a forklift because their lumber was all bundled. This was rough lumber going to Lone Windows for them to make their window frames.
Yeah.
So they would, cut it down and then plane it and finger joint it or whatever they had to do with it. Whereas CTs, theirs was all pre-bundled, and the forklifts could pull that out, right?
That sounds challenging. A little bit different than it's done nowadays.
Yeah,
eh?
so that's why.
Nice.
Although I came from the farm, I didn't mind physical labor, but
Still
if
exhausting.
you can do it with instead of throwing bales by hand, if you use a forklift with a front loader on a tractor, why not?
Yeah. You needed a little bit less gym back in the day, eh?
Yes.
Because all the physical labor, and you get work out that way. Okay, so that means you've been driving about 50 years.
Just over, yeah.
Just a blur. What's been a highlight?
October would have been 50 years, 2024.
Okay. What has been some highlights from your years? Some memories from the road that come to mind.
I don't know. I guess I haven't really tallied it up, but as I was at Big Freight, I had 3,700,000 miles accident free.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved with 2 accidents that wasn't my fault. Others ran into me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I never was charged with any accident. It was always the other guys that had. But I don't know. It was first time going in the mountains. That was a challenge.
Coming from Manitoba.
Coming from the prairies, yes.
Yeah.
But I had been out that way 3 times prior to that with my car, which
Okay.
isn't really the same, but still, you still got a feel of where stuff was, because like I say, my wife's sister, and she also had 2 brothers that lived. I mean, a brother and another sister lived on the island, so we got to go there every other year. We kind of made a road trip that way.
So did you go on the U.S. side all the way?
No, Canadian side.
Okay, so cross back into Canada.
Yeah, we stayed in Canada.
Like for when you came from the south, was it Louisiana? You said
For
for the glass. No, not Louisiana.
oh yeah, I always came back here to Winnipeg, and then
okay, that way.
yeah, because I had to reset my hours, and
Okay.
then I would go from Winnipeg or from home here from Stamwick
Yeah.
back out.
I guess back then the number one wasn't as
Good.
good as now. I mean, it was like more.
Yeah, I don't know
where-
what it's like now. I haven't gone that way for Coon's age, because now I just fly to Vancouver instead of drive, because
Makes it easier.
yeah, instead of spending 3 days, you spend 3 hours now.
Yeah. You can
But,
take the time visiting, right?
Yeah, but back in the day too, I want to say you heard maybe that there was 4 or 5 accidents a month, if that, on the Trans-Canada with involving semis. Now it seems it's 4 or 5 a week that is happening.
Yeah.
So it's either the drivers are not as cautious, or there's more drivers out there, definitely.
Yeah.
But it seems like the drivers aren't as cautious as they used to be.
Yeah. Like someone.
Everybody seems to be in a hurry. They're always in a hurry, and then that's when accidents happen.
Being in a hurry doesn't get you nowhere.
Nope. In the long run, you're behind.
Yeah. And you're, the toll it takes on you just to be anxious
Yeah.
and trying to get somewhere, and you put yourself in danger and other people.
Yeah, because I know when I started, I was one of them that liked to push, and then I realized that, you're tired at the other end, and you're kind of just sleep all the time, So, you know what? Just take your time and do it legal.
Yeah, yeah. and your health takes a beating too if you just
Yes.
push it too
Yeah.
hard. No proper sleep and rest, and always being on edge because you're trying
Yeah.
to get there
Pins
before
and needles,
yesterday.
looking in the mirror, is there any lights flashing coming up behind you? Or
Yeah. You have any stories from the road that you could share that come to mind? So many.
then they're usually none that you want to share on air.
Okay. Okay, that's
A lot
fair.
of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You know, the time before cell phones.
we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have GPSs. All we had is an atlas, which you threw in the front seat, passenger seat, and once your eyesight got a little bit strenuous, then you went and bought those magnifying 8 by 8, 8 inches by 8 inches magnifying. You threw on top of the atlas, which enlarged it 5 times. So you
Zooming.
so you could see. So long as you always looked at the 2 exits before your turn off. That's what I usually did. So once I found that exit, then I'll get one more, and then the next one would be mine, right? Type of thing. So
Then you don't miss it.
then I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah.
And
What's
another
the-
thing is, make sure you call the customer and ask if we can park there, or ask him if he wants it, or let him know what time you'll be there.
And it wasn't quite as simple as just calling him from your cell phone.
No, you always had to stop at a truck stop and go to a payphone and use a payphone.
Okay. And then navigate from there.
You navigate from there.
Nice.
And you take your atlas and sit down at a desk and order something to eat, and then you plan out your trip.
So was the interstate system fully set up already back then?
No, there wasn't that many 4 lanes. There was a lot of 2 lane. I did a fair amount of Chicago runs. I did that too. Before I did too much of the glass stuff, I did a lot of Chicago runs, which I didn't mind. Also did some hauling wire for Alcatel wire. Once we lost the glass company that we were hauling for, it went belly up, so then we lost those loads going west, so we ended up getting some loads of hauling big spools of wire that were anywhere from 8-foot spools up to 14-foot spool, and they were usually about 7-8 feet wide, and you had to have a double drop, and most of the time it was just one. Sometimes you could, depending on the weight, but most of the time you could just have one on there. Sometimes you could have 2 on there, and then
Okay. Did the weight limits used to be different?
no, it was the same. I
Okay.
think it was 80.
80?
It was 80 in the U.S. and I think it was 81 in Canada. And in winter, it went up to 87. But now I think they just have it at that.
Okay.
But the U.S. is still only at 80.
Yeah.
But they allow you 10% in winter. Some roads.
Okay. What is the hardest part? What has been the hardest part for you being a truck driver? Like, what do you think is the hardest part? Like,
The electronic stuff.
so that's only recent.
And that's
then.
why I prefer running old school trucks that are pre-ignition and don't have any of the computer stuff. Mind you, the one I drive now is a 06. The previous ones I had was a 93, so that was a mechanical, which I preferred.
Okay.
But now this 06 is a little bit computerized. It has the e-log, but now I don't mind that anymore.
Got used to it.
Now I'm used to it. You just got to remember when you stop, you got to do something, otherwise she yells back at you.
Starts counting.
Yeah,
It says that you're working while you're actually not.
yeah.
Use up the hours while you're sleeping. Okay, so what advice would you give to new drivers? Somebody who wants to consider coming in the industry or just getting started?
Well, I know it isn't as easy as that. I started off on hauling gravel, making local deliveries with a semi-trailer to Kenarmade that had anywhere from 5 or 6 drops on it. So everything was kind of low-keyed, so you learned how to pull a trailer back in a trailer, whereas now you go through a school and you do the same thing. You drive around the same streets, drive around the circles, and then and then you park and that. But when you get out there, it is different. Whereas I got to slowly work my way into the long haul part.
Yeah.
And now everybody's just kind of, here's your license, you passed, have a nice day.
Now you're professional.
Now you're a professional. But thing is, I guess, is take your time, don't rush. You don't always have to be the first guy. It's better to be in the back and watch everybody make their mistakes. and you can learn from them.
Yeah. And you can just relax and do your job.
Yeah.
Because you're already seeing how it's done. So what does make someone a good truck driver?
What makes somebody what?
A good truck driver.
Oh, I guess being patient with the customer. Customer is always right. And never show a customer that you're in a hurry. Be polite.
Right.
And kind of go, how should I say, above and beyond service. If he wants you just to put it there, get out of your truck. Don't sit in the truck while they unload. Stand beside, move the dunnage. They really appreciate that if you help them out. It speeds up for you, and it speeds up their time. Another rule is if you can see the forklift guy, he can see you. So that way you don't have to worry about getting run over, or he doesn't have to worry about running you over. Where are you, type of thing.
Yeah.
Because if you see him, he can see you.
And all of those points would make it I would say makes it the definition of a professional.
And make sure that your equipment is working condition. That
prior to leaving.
No burnt out lights. That is a key thing. Don't give anybody an excuse to have you pull around to the back of the scale. Make sure everything is working.
Yeah.
And another thing, nice to keep everything clean. I like to wash mine. At Big Freight, I always wash the truck and trailer before I went on a trip, even though sometimes the trailer was rusty, but at least I had clean rust when I went out.
Yeah.
But I very, very seldom that I had trouble with the DOT or at a scale. They normally they let me go with, even though I had some real bad stuff. Sometimes a broken spring, they allowed me to pull to the nearest town and get it fixed, right?
Okay.
But nowadays it wouldn't be that way.
Right. What do you enjoy most about your job?
I enjoyed the driving and meet. I used to go to different places. I used to like meeting different people, but now I like to slow down, and I don't know. I still enjoy driving. That is that's my how should I say, my happy place.
Okay.
You're relaxed. And just going on the road, and then you get to the customer where I just go at Articat now, so I basically go there and chit chat with them and see how their weekend was or how their day was and what they're doing, blah blah blah. Other than that, that's about it.
What do you do for fun outside of work?
Outside of work,
Hobbies.
Don't have many hobbies anymore. I used to golf. I don't do that anymore. Basically camping.
Okay.
Go on little road trips, sightseeing. Go to garage sales. But that's about it. We used to say, watch the grandkids. That was one of the, we even bought a camper with 4 bunks so we could have our grandkids over a lot camping. Enjoy that.
That's a highlight.
Yeah, go tubing, go swimming there.
The short period of summer that we have.
Yeah, a short period of summer we have is right. Yet we got a short winter. I don't know what else is left.
Just mud and
Yeah, just fall.
yeah,
Spring and fall.
long spring, long fall. Say. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? Well, thank you for all the years of hard work and dedication to the industry. Somebody had to do it.
Somebody's got to do it, and as long as your health allows you to do it, I'm going to keep on doing it.
There's no reason to retire.
No, you have to do something,
Yeah.
and I enjoy driving, so especially old school trucks. Older the better.
Yeah. Well, you have one of the best looking trucks on the fleet, right? So, and it's always clean. When you say it's dirty, I don't see it.
Right now, like we switched yards, so I had a shop where I parked. I had a wash bay. Now I have a indoor parking, but the wash bay isn't there. There is a wash bay, but occasionally it gets washed. They wash it for me, but it's I call it just a super rinse, not really a wash. It's more of a super rinse.
You're a little bit more picky than that, eh?
Yeah, I like to kind of,
Yeah.
not with a toothbrush, but close to it.
A little polishing. All right. Right on. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with us, and I'm sure a lot of people would be happy to see hear your story.
Well,
It's definitely interesting hearing from a different perspective.
it took you 3 times. Finally, you cornered me.
Against your will, right? All right. Thank you. Have a good day, sir.
I had to say uncle.
Uncle. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Awesome. That's it.